Hi everyone, welcome back to SSH105, now continuing digitally, virtually. I'm sending you this first video to go over our revised syllabus because obviously some of the things in our syllabus are going to change, and you're going to see me kind of looking over here because this is where the syllabus is for me. But I thought for at least some of you it might be better to have me telling you about the changes in the course than just reading the syllabus for yourselves. But let's go ahead and look at it. My email is the same. You'll still contact me at my LaGuardia email, which is here. And the general overview of the course is still the same. Nothing significant has changed in terms of the content you're going to get, except for how I'm going to get it to you. In terms of the way we will use technology in this class, this is obviously shifting quite a bit. I had planned to have you discussing for at least an hour a week in class between the 2 days about the things we were reading and the things in lecture and sharing primary sources with you. Instead of doing that, we're going to use the discussion board on Blackboard quite a bit more. And I'll get into the details of that in a minute. In terms of communication, because I will not have office hours, because I won't be on campus and neither will you, generally speaking, you can use email to contact me anytime you want. And I'm also going to be available Monday through Friday on Skype. Just give me about a 48-hour notice before you want to talk to me if you'd like to talk on Skype rather than email, and I can make that happen. It'll either be just an audio call or I can video conference with you. And so we'll call those the virtual office hours. There may be times where I'm not at my house. If we're traveling, my wife and I are traveling, I'll still be available to Skype you as long as you give me about 48 hours to kind of set up a time with you that works for both of us. I know a lot of your schedules have probably changed quite a lot because of this coronavirus break that we're on and because of the way this may have changed your work schedules and your schedules for other classes. So holding the normal Tuesday and Thursday office hours probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but I will be available basically Monday to Friday. In terms of assignments, so this has to change a little bit too, right? The good news is, I'll start with the good news, is that there's no midterm anymore. I'm getting rid of the midterm entirely, and I'm replacing the quizzes with short response assignments. Basically, just like the first quiz, you'll be able to take these home, obviously, because everything will be done at home now. And there will be one more of those instead of the midterm, which shortens the work that you need to do there and maybe the amount of cramming you would have to do or memorizing you might have to do, because the midterm was going to be an in-class assignment, as were the other quizzes. Now it's all going to be take-home. I'm calling them short response assignments now instead of quizzes. The other changes are that the object analysis essay is now worth slightly more. It's worth 20% instead of 15%, I believe. The source analysis, which is technically your final paper, is still worth 25%. And then your discussion leadership is still worth 10%. And now there will be a section, instead of class participation and attendance, you will do discussion board posts. And it'll be about, I'll ask each of you to write on the discussion board about 3 comments a week. I'll get into that in detail here in a second. So the short response assignments, I'll have you respond in most cases to those via email. There may be some of those where I ask you to post it on the discussion board so that others can see it, and I'll have that kind of release all at the same time so you'll be looking at each other's answers ahead of time. But I will probably have you generally send those to me via email. A Google Doc link will be fine, or a Word file. Whatever you'd like to use is fine with me. And those will still be 5% of your grade each. So they're fairly low consequence. And your answers should be roughly 1 paragraph to each of those questions, 3 to 5 sentences. You're allowed to use, obviously, any sources that are useful sources that you can. Feel free to include citations to pages in the textbook in those short responses, because I know you'll have access to the textbook and to the web while you're working on these projects or on these responses. Um, object analysis paper doesn't really change, other than that instead of presenting it in front of the class, which is no longer a thing, I'm just going to have you send me your museum label, and I will probably have a lecture where I kind of go through your objects. And I might not necessarily read all of your labels out loud, but I'll have them on the screen and your object, and we'll talk a little bit about these objects and how some of them have significance to other areas of the course or might be interesting in other ways. So you're no longer going to present the object, but you're still going to submit the museum label, submit an image of the object, that will be on Blackboard, and then you're still going to do a 2 to 3 page paper. The source analysis has changed in no way. It's exactly the same paper as it was before. So between 3 to 5 pages, probably around an average of about 4 pages is good for that paper, and it is completely the same. The discussion board posts, so instead of the 6 discussions led by students that were going to be in class, those students, the same ones, will now post questions to these discussion weeks, and everyone is required to provide 3 comments. And there are 2 different roles here. So if you're not leading the discussion that week, if you're just one of the regular students that week who is reading these questions and responding to them, you should provide at least 3 comments, either responses to those questions, responses to the comments of others, or questions of your own if they're kind of substantial questions. These should be significant comments, not just, okay, yeah, I agree, or something like that would not be an acceptable comment. That won't count towards your 3. You can still say that, but saying, I think that too, for example, that's not a substantial comment. It would be something more along the lines of a few sentences of your opinion or things you've learned from either the textbook or other sources or lectures that might be relevant to that question. Discussion leaders, your job is slightly different. So the first thing you do is you post your questions. This will happen by Tuesday of a given week, as you can see here. And this is all listed in the schedule on the syllabus here below. And then you'll wait for all the other comments to come in. And you'll have a little bit more time to respond to those comments. For everyone else, these posts will come up generally on a Tuesday, and I want you to comment 3 times by Sunday, and then the leaders of that discussion can respond after that. And there's no real hard timeline. Maybe within a week would be reasonable. That'd be about the cutoff there for the discussion leaders. For everyone else, if you want to get credit for this, you have to post by Sunday night at midnight, at the end of the day on Sunday, and that will be the requirement. That essentially replaces your normal discussion participation that you would be doing in class. So I think the workload, and that's essentially it, those are the major changes to the course. I think the workload, it changes in terms of what you're doing, but how much you're doing I don't think changes that much, because you no longer have to come into class, you no longer have to have real-time discussion. The lectures, and this is an important point, they're going to be asynchronous, meaning you don't have to come in and watch me talk at a specific time. You'll be able to just watch the videos I upload whenever you have time, whenever you're able to just watch them that week, watch them before you participate in a discussion or do a short response, the quiz replacements. You should watch them in the week that I'm putting them up, but you don't have to watch them on Tuesday and Thursday. You don't have to sit there live while I'm doing it. I think because everyone's schedules are so up in the air, it's best for me to just record it, and then you can watch it whenever you have time. There will probably be between 1 and 2 of those a week. I may, in some weeks where there is less lecture content and I was planning to have more discussion, I may combine the lectures into one video, probably about an hour long, or there might be 2 half-hour or so videos a week. That's probably about what I'm aiming at, and that will vary based on the content itself. Generally, these online lectures will be slightly shorter than the in-person lectures would have been, because you're not there to respond to questions and I can't bounce ideas off of you. So that part of the discussion will all happen on the discussion board. I may occasionally post questions myself on the discussion board for a given week, usually at the same time as the other discussion leaders. If there's an additional question that I think is worth asking, I may add that in myself. But most of the time, I'm going to let you kind of run the show in those discussions, and then it'll be the short response questions, that section of the course, the quiz replacements, where I'm asking the questions. Other than that, you'll be able to look here on the schedule. It's the same in most ways. I had to shift a few things here and there, but I've kept the structure of the course roughly the same. And the content, especially in terms of textbook readings, is exactly the same. So if you want to keep reading, I know right now you're technically on a break of, a 5-day break or whatever it is, but it could be a good idea for you to just go ahead and keep up with the readings at least. That way all of this work, because all of your courses are going to do this, they don't all stack up on you for that week you get back. If you just read 20 to 40 pages in our textbook, you can be caught up and not be a week behind when we get into the end of the break. Or, it could feel like you're a week behind if you don't do that. So that's essentially it. The quizzes are short responses now. The discussions are all online now, and everyone has to post essentially 3 times during those discussion weeks. You'll see the deadlines here are posted separately. This is one more important point. When you look at the schedule, the due dates for things are usually on Sunday for most things, not for every single thing. Especially in the first couple weeks, it gets a little bit weird because we're coming back from this break, but generally speaking, the due dates for everything are on Sunday. So sometimes technically the due date for a discussion response and a short response quiz replacement will be on the same day, but you just have the whole week to work on those 2 things. And in other cases, you might have just a short response due that week, or just a discussion that week. For example, here, in week 5, you just have a discussion, no short response. So overall, I think the course is about the same in terms of difficulty. The difference is, this is a case with all distance learning, is that you have to be a bit more proactive, a bit more independent on making sure you get the work done, making sure you do the reading, making sure you watch the lectures. You have a bit more time, I would say, to do that now because you're not traveling into class and waiting around for class to start, but you have to use that time effectively, and you have to make sure that you're keeping up with the course. And I have less ability to monitor that and help you with that if you're not doing it proactively. So if you start to feel like you're falling behind, or if you're having any problems with the course and doing the work, you need to just let me know. That's the best thing you can do, is let me know. And I'll work with you to make sure that you're able to keep up, okay? So that's it for this first intro video, and here in a few hours here, I'll probably be done with the first lecture recording, and these 2 videos will go up roughly at the same time, I think. All right, so I hope you're all doing well. Stay strong, stay away from coronavirus. I hope none of you have it, and good luck, everyone, and I'll see you throughout the course.